Hello students and welcome to Shri Gyanmanjari Vidyapith. Students, we are learning the subject of English for Standard 10. Previous lecture was the first lecture for the new academic year 2021-22 and we saw a great deal of things in that. So let's take a quick recap. In order to get familiar with, first of all, is the blueprint of the paper. Blueprint of the paper can change here or there according to need and situation, but on the whole, the paper pattern remains the same. So, because we are going to deal with Standard 10 and our first objective, our primary objective, our goal is Standard 10 board paper, which is going to be conducted next year, maybe March, April, May 2022, whenever that thing is, right? Whenever the paper is there. We are not concerned about that right now, but we are surely concerned about the marks that we are going to score out of that 80 marks. So on the whole, we must remember what is our target, what is our goal, where, in which question can we score the maximum, where are the weak points, because each and every student will have different weak points, right? Some areas will be weak, whereas some areas will be quite strong, right? So we have to focus on our lacunas, on the weak areas. We have to make them strong. The strong is already strong, we got to make it better, but the weak areas, wherever we feel that there are chances my marks will get cut over there, yes, there we have to focus. So it is very necessary to know the paper pattern first. So first thing is the syllabus. Yes, syllabus contains textual part, grammar part, writing part and comprehension part. In textual part you will have question answers from both the books. It can be the main book, it can be the supplementary book. Yes, poem part also there will be question answers, there will be figures of speech. In grammar part we have vocabulary, we have fill in the blanks of vocabulary, we have the fill in the blanks of the grammar part, parts of speech, for example articles, conjunctions, alright. So in this way we have to fill up the figures of speech. Then there will be error correction, there will be direct indirect speech, then there will be transformation of sentences. All these things are included in the grammar part. Next we come to the writing part, which is one of the most essential part of the paper. 30 marks are dedicated to writing part, wherein section C of 10 marks and section D of 10 marks and section E of 20 marks. 30 marks are dedicated over there on the writing part. Then we come to comprehension. That is textual comprehension and unseen comprehension, both of prose and poem. That is, a passage will be given, we have to understand the passage and give the answers, questions. We have to answer the questions given below it. Same way poem, 3 or 4 lines or a stanza will be given to us. We have to read it, understand it. It can be from the text, it can be an unseen one, right? So we have to be prepared for both of them. Next, textual part, we have 2 books. First is First Light, which is the main book, and we have a second book as supplementary reader, that is Footsteps Without Feet. As far as question answers are concerned, as far as grammar is concerned, it can be taken from both the books. Now, first term syllabus we discussed, that is in First Light chapter number 1 to 6 will be taken in the first term. Poem number 1 to 6 will be taken from the first term. From First Light. Footprints Without Feet, that is supplementary reader, will have chapter number 1 to 5. Whatever portion is remaining will be included in second term. Now, what will be asked in grammar? We already discussed that previously also. Vocabulary, parts of speech, error rectification, transformation of sentences, direct, indirect. These are the usual grammar parts which appear in the paper. In writing part, many of them we have done it. For example, letter writing, both formal, informal, we have done. But again, whether it is grammar part, whether it is writing part, again everything will be revised so that there is no doubt remaining for any of the student. Nobody can say that I forgot it or I still don't know. We will revise it again thoroughly. We will have lots of practice. Email writing, formal, informal, we have already done. Same way notice we have done. Advertisement is remaining. Poster is remaining. Diary we have done. Report writing is remaining. We'll do it. Essay, story, that is the usual things at the end of the WRT or final paper, right? Usually we have essay, story writing. So we already know about those things. Now, comprehension, as we discussed, it can be textual in the form of MCQ or it can be question answers. You have to answer in one line or more than one line. Textual poem, again MCQs can be asked, question answers can be asked. Unseen passage, again questions or MCQ mixed up can be asked. Same way in unseen poem. In unseen poem also question answers or MCQ or figures of speech can also be asked. Then we started with the first chapter of the main book, that is First Flight. Chapter number 1, A Letter to God. It's written by G.L. Fuentes. We started with that. We saw that faith can move mountains. If you have faith, if you have very strong belief. What is faith? Faith is strong belief, is called faith. Yes, it is not about religion, it's not about God. You can have faith. Yeah, for example, you have faith in your parents. Yes, so faith you should have complete trust upon. You should be believing that completely. That is called faith can move mountains. It's a proverb. But what should we do? Yes, and where should we put faith in? On whom should we put faith in? Yes, that's a matter of quite serious matter. It's a question. This is the question the story is dealing about. We are dealing with a farmer, a local person in a remote area. He is a farmer and he has a field. His name is Lancho. He's a farmer who writes a letter to God. He starts a correspondence with God directly. Yes, and nobody can imagine it. So this chapter is quite imaginative. Yes, we all pray to God whenever we want something, whenever we desire something, whenever we demand something. Yes, we don't want anybody to know. We certainly say it to God. We certainly put our wishes in front of God. Even when we are not putting our wishes in front of God, when we think about those wishes, when we desire something very strongly, actually we are proposing that wish to God, that maybe luck, maybe whatever we say, that whatever I desire, I should get it. So, one way or another, we are placing that demand in front of the God. So, here, what Lencho does is totally unexpected. He starts a correspondence with God as if the letter will reach God. So, he writes a letter to God when his crops are ruined. He is helpless right now. He needs money. So, he is asking God for money. So, what's our question? Does God get that letter? Does God give him the money that he wants? Whole of the chapter is based on that. We learnt about Lancho a little bit in the previous lecture, that his house, it was the only one in the entire valley. Valley means flat, somewhat flat land in between mountains where usually a river flows, right? And that house was set upon the crest, the top part of a small hill. From that height, he can easily see whole of the valley, the river, the complete field. He can have a look from over the top of the hill, right? Where he stands in front of the house, he can see the complete view in front of him. What is that? He could see the river and the field of the ripe corn. So the first paragraph tells us what he has grown in his field. He is growing crop of corn or maize, and that plant has reached sufficient required height, and now the second function of the plant starts, that is flowering for fruit. That fruit is that corn or maize, or we say doda, that is the same thing, makai, right? So now the plant has fully matured and now it is the right time to give out flowers. Those flowers will turn into fruit, that is maize. But the problem is the land has become dry. we're talking about quite old days when irrigational facilities were not that much good. Yes, the river is running nearby, but then it becomes quite difficult for the farmer without any irrigational system over there to irrigate his land. So he's waiting for rain. Ripe corn dotted with flowers. If you see from the top, you can see the flowers that is dotting the complete scene in front of him. Always promised a good harvest. More than necessary flowers or great many flowers on the single maize plant is assuring you that there is going to be quite good fruit on it. That means you're going to get quite a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed right now, as it became dry, it needed a shower at least, or a downpour. Yes, if they don't get a downpour, lots of rain within a very short time, yes, it gives plenty and the soil is going to be moist. Whatever water is required by the plant in order to turn that flower into maize, that much water is required, and it can, one downpour or simply a shower can help the ground, to the soil to become moist. And Lencho, that morning, Lencho was standing in front of his house. He was pacing up and down. Yes, he constantly, again and again, looked in the northeast direction, from where usually at this time clouds will gather and come marching towards his field. Yes, it will encompass the complete scene over there. The mountains, the hill, the field, the river, everything will go dark because of the clouds which have come and which will give rain. Yes, so Lancho that morning, he was constantly standing in front of his house, marching up and down, who knew his fields intimately, very closely. Yes, a farmer knows each and every plant of his field. He has to constantly monitor his field, look after each and every plant. Some plants, they get infected with some disease or some insects, etc. So he has to monitor. So he is very close with his crop. He knows each and every plant. So who knew his fields intimately, and he knew that the soil has gone dry and this is the right time he should get some rain, then only the harvest is going to be very good. Had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So we had learnt up till here. Now let's go ahead with today's lecture. Now we are really going to get some water. Woman, he is very enthusiastic. He is desperate, but at the same time enthusiastic. He is quite surely hoping, because he is a farmer all these years. Whatever predictions he has done has become, because he is working in his field the whole year. He knows when the rain comes, when he wants rain, when the rain comes, and the rain comes at required time in required quantity. He is very sure about his predictions. So he knows that today, yesterday it didn't rain, so today clouds will gather and he will get rain. So he is so much enthusiastic that he actually is talking to no one, because he is standing in front of his house, but his wife is preparing supper over there inside the house. Supper, evening meal, right? So actually he is talking to himself, but at the same time he is thinking aloud and also informing his wife that rain is going to come. Now we are really going to get some water. Water means the rain. Woman, just an address to the wife. The woman who was preparing supper replied, "Yes, God willing." So the woman, here what happens is, in the introduction we are told about Lencho and God, that he writes a letter to God. So we assume that Lencho is a firm believer of God. He has lots of belief and faith and trust in God. Same way in this sentence we also see that the wife is almost as steadfast a believer in God. She also says, while preparing supper, supper means the evening meal, she's preparing that inside the house, inside the kitchen, whereas Lencho might be standing somewhere right in front of the house, where if he shouts or if he just speaks loudly, she can easily hear, and she replies to her husband, yes, you'll get the rain, but if God is willing. Yes, if God is willing, yes, surely you'll get rain. The older boys were working in the field. Now he had children, somewhere grown up, somewhere just small enough. So the older boys, that means younger boys also should be there. So older boys were working in the field. Yes, they are quite strong because now they are grown up, they are quite strong, and now it is time that they allow their father some rest, and instead of father, the father has worked for a lot number of years. Now it is his time to take a little bit time off, as rest more, and just monitor or supervise them and give some suggestions and expert advice to them. Otherwise, the children now who have grown up, older ones, yes, they are working in the field. Might be they are removing the unnecessary weed and plant that's growing. Otherwise, they might be making the path clear for the water to go, or so that the water does not overflow outside the field. When the rain comes, enough sufficient water is stored in the field, slowly it is sip inside the ground. Yes, they will also look after the plants. Yes, constantly monitor the plants so that there is no disease, there are no insects infecting it. So that's the normal work of the field. So the older boys were working in the field while the smaller ones were playing near the house. Smaller ones were there and smaller ones. Yes, now we know this family is living in a very remote area up in the mountains, and they are living in a valley, and this is the only family in the valley. There are no neighbors. Certainly, the story must have been cast during the days where usually schools and colleges, all those things were absent, no education required. Yes, just the question of survival is there. You have enough food that you want to eat. You prepare that food, yes, and you prepare the ingredients for the food. Whatever you have to do, you have to do it yourself. So the smaller ones, they are not still of that age, and they are usually having fun and playing nearby. So they were playing near the house until the woman called. To them, all come for dinner. Right? Usually in these remote areas, usually there is a small disc or a bell hung over there near the house, because the family is working everywhere, and usually in those areas the house is usually in the center, and the people are working all around the house. The field is there, right? So it does, even if they shout, they won't be able to hear. So usually they ring a bell, or they ring that tin plate which is there. That sound, usually they know, right, that the bell has gone, that means it is food time, right? So she calls out them, and right now all the children are in front of her. The smaller ones are playing, the older ones, she can see they are working in the field. The husband is standing right there. So she comes out and loudly she calls them, come home for supper. Yes, leave your work. Yes, wash your hands, feet, and come for supper. Yes, come for dinner. Dinner, supper, same thing. Evening meal is called dinner or supper. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. Until the woman called for supper, Lencho was standing over there in front of the house and looking in the northeast direction, watching for any sign of cloud. So until this, we are very clear that until Lencho was standing over there, he was not able to see a single cloud coming from the northeast direction. But all the children, they left their work, play, etc., and they wash themselves properly, hands, feet, and all that, because while having dinner or before consuming food, you should clean your hands and feet so that you don't spoil the house, you don't have sand particles, etc., in your hand. Yes, and your hands are not dirty. We should always clean our hands when we are having some food, right? So all this process happens, and all of them get together and they start having their supper. In between these time, everybody is in the house, yes, and meanwhile the clouds must have gathered coming from that northeast direction and slowly must have covered the complete region of that valley. And now, as Lencho had predicted, because this was high time, the earth, the soil was completely dry and it needed some moisture, some dampness, some rain, so that the process of the plants of converting those flowers into fruits can happen. He had predicted that now it's almost time, rain should come, yes, otherwise it will be trouble. So as Lencho had predicted that today it's going to rain, now when they were having supper, big drops of rain started falling. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. As soon as they hear the rain, yes, the rain sound is completely different, and they are inside the house, so the rain will be falling on the roof of the... Now, it has not started raining, just a few drops here and there, but big ones are falling, right? So there must be lots of pitter-patter on the roof. Yes, and all of them must have rushed out because they were expecting the rain, and the soil was quite dry, the atmosphere was quite dry, it must be quite warm or quite a lot of heat over there. Yes, so they were waiting for rain. And what happens when rain comes? Children are the first one to rush outside and get wet in the rain. So all of them must have left the supper because all of them are now outside hearing the rain. Now, Lencho had predicted that the clouds come from northeast, so now he must have gone outside and seen that mountains and mountains, that means huge size clouds, big clouds, with as if towering and on top of each other. The clouds can be seen coming from that direction. It's a figures of speech, but mountains and mountains, that means huge grey colored clouds filled with water vapor are coming, marching towards their house and covering that entire valley. Can be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. We know this thing. Yes, when the soil is quite dry, then the atmosphere is quite dry, and we get few drops of rain that changes the complete atmosphere, that changes the freshness of the air. Yes, and we get that sweet smell of the hot burning soil and water droplets on it. We get such a good fragrance of that heated soil being cooled by the rain. The fragrances in the air, the water droplets that are falling from the sky in the form of rain, they clear the atmosphere and all the dust in the atmosphere, and we get fresh air, right? So mark these words, the air was fresh and it was sweet. Sweet smelling, the sweet smell of the soil of the earth that receives the first rain after quite a long time. Yes, we all know about the sweetness of the soil, sweetness that is present, that aroma that's coming out of the, it should not be called aroma, but that's that sweet smell that's coming out. The men went out for no other reason. The men went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. As we discussed, the children, they are more than happy. Yes, they are doing whatever. Yes, they are very hungry, shouting for food, etc. Mother has just served food. But as soon as they hear rain outside, they forget their hunger, they forget the food, they just rush outside and get wet. For children, it is different. Adults, quite different. Here, for Lencho also and the family also, the same thing happens. The children, whether they are older, whether they are smaller, all of them rush outside and get wet in the rain. Lencho has no need to go outside and drench himself, but he just goes outside and stands in the rain just to get the feeling of satisfaction. Now, what sort of satisfaction is that? He had predicted today rain is going to come. His soil, he didn't need the rain. His soil needed the rain. His crop needed the rain. And as per his prediction, it was high time that the crops get that rain, that water. So, for the sake of satisfaction, yes, my soil gets water today. My plants get rain today. And I'll get a good harvest because rain has arrived on time. So, just for the sake of that satisfaction, he goes out, he just has that feeling of rain on him, making him wet, drenched. Yes, rain on his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, he didn't get wet, perhaps a few drops here and there, right? And he came again back inside the house, and now he's talking to his wife. What is he talking? Very, very good lines written by the author. Yes, we find very few instances like that in literature. Yes, very, very good expression of feelings by the farmer is given over here, that these aren't raindrops falling from the sky. For you it is rain, but for me, for our family, these are not the raindrops that are falling from the sky. Then what are they? They are new coins. Why does Lancho, the farmer, why does he say coins are falling? It's not coin, it's that big drops that are falling from the sky. Yes, making the soil wet, giving moisture to the field, giving moisture to the soil, and the roots which are so much desperate to get water, now they also sense it, and they are ready to grab the water as soon as it's going to touch them in the soil, right? But here Lancho says that these are not raindrops falling from the sky, they are new coins. You know, when the coins are minted in the mint, made in the mint, produced in the mint, shiny metal, yes, shiny metal, the new coins look like round pieces of shiny metal. Whether any metal, it looks very shiny because it has just been minted and you have got hold of it, right? So why is Lancho comparing the raindrops with new coins? Because of the rain, he is going to have a very good harvest. He is going to harvest the maize, the crop of corn, and he is going to sell it in the market. He is going to keep some for his food, yes, for his consumption for the complete year, because it is a very good harvest. The crop is quite healthy. He is going to keep lots of it for food for the whole year for the family. Lots of it he is going to keep for seeds that he will sow in the next year. Rest of that he is going to sell in the market and get money, which will allow him to survive for the complete next year or the next crop. He has enough money now. So in that way, these raindrops are compared with new coins. These raindrops are just like coins. Because of this rain, we are going to get good harvest and we'll get new coins. We'll get money in our hands. That is what Lancho is saying. The big drops. Now, when rain falls, it's not necessary that they will pour down on the ground of the same size. Yeah, the size will vary. Some are big, some are small. So the big drops are 10-cent pieces. S-C-E-N-T. Yes, C-E-N-T. What is C-E-N-T? Cent. What is cent? Just like we have rupee and paisa. 100 paisa is equal to 1 rupee. Same way, 100 cents is equal to $1. Right? So 10 cent, the big drops are like 10 cents coin, and the little ones are fives. Of course, your generation is, you have never seen 1 paisa coin, 2 paisa coin, 3 paisa coin, 5 paisa coin, 10 paisa, 15 paisa, all have become obsolete. They have been removed from the currency, yes, and they have been made obsolete, no more of any use, because literally we don't get anything for 1 rupee also, right? So earlier we had 10 paisa coin, we had 5 paisa coin. Same way in countries where cents and dollars are used, yes, still there are coins of 5 paisa, 5 cent, 10 cent. So that much value. So the big drops of water, they are compared as 10-cent pieces, and the little ones are compared as 5. That means he is so much excited that the rain is received in time, and now he is going to get a very good harvest, and that excitement makes him compare that raindrops with 10 cents and 5 cents coin, because at the end he is going to get money from the crops. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers. He is standing either just in the shaded part, just in front of the house, or he might be standing at the doorway, or he might be standing just inside the house, just inside of the door, and from there he can see the expanse of his field, and he was quite satisfied, because now the plants are washed by the rain. They are looking very, very green, because earlier the rain was not there, so the plants may be looking dirty, right, with the soil particles sticking on the different parts of the plant, and it might they look dusty. But now the rain has washed the dirt away, and the plants are shining. The flowers are swaying in the flowers on the plants. They are swaying in the wind and rain. Yes, and Lancho is having a satisfied look, because he knows that this was what was needed, not by me, but by the soil. I just predicted it. Yes, because it's time. Yes, what is the work of the farmer? This is the work of the farmer. He knows exactly when, what to do. Yes, so he is having that satisfied expression on his face. He regarded the field. He is seeing at it, at the field of ripe corn with its flower draped in a curtain of rain. Yes, and the rain, if you always see the rain looking out from your window, but you should be on some height, third or fourth floor, then you can see that the rain along with the wind falls in form of sheets. Right, because whenever there is rain, usually wind a little bit will also be there, right? So you can find sheets and sheets of rain falling here and there, so that sheet looks like a curtain. So whole of the field is draped, covered in the sheets and sheets of rain, curtain of rain. That means the rain falls down in a cascade and falls down in a sheet. Yes, and he can see whole of his field being drenched in rain. That means there's lots of rain, and it will be enough for the crops. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow. Might be a gentle breeze was there. The gentle breeze might have turned into a little bit more forceful wind, but now all of a sudden that gentle breeze or gentle wind suddenly became strong, force. Now what happens? We usually know when there is more wind, you don't get more rain. You just get a little bit rain, and the wind carries away the clouds somewhere else. So let's see what happens. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. The clouds didn't go anywhere. The wind was not that much powerful that it can drive away the clouds from that area, but the winds were cold. It didn't have much force, but then the winds were very, very cold. And if you can feel the cold at ground level, then you can imagine as you go up, the cold would keep on increasing to that effect that when that wind touches the clouds, it will be icy cold. So the rain, the water vapor which is present in that cloud, it condenses together and makes a water droplet. And because of the weight of that droplet, which is heavy than the cloud, water vapor starts falling, and that is that water rain drop which we get. Yes, when we have big drop of water, lots of droplets will come together and fall as one drop. Then it's a big drop. So what happens when icy winds blow at the same time, that water droplet or lots of droplets forming one big drop will turn suddenly into ice. When it turns it to ice, it has more weight and size, and it will start falling like a stone from the top because of the gravity. Is the force with which that small bulb of ice will fall, the speed will increase and it will hit the ground with lots of force. Now it will fall on the roof, it will fall on the trees, it will fall on the crop also. What happens when a big piece of ice hits the tender and delicate plant? It's going to break it. If it falls on the flower, flower is going to be ripped apart from the plant and it will fall on the ground. That means now there is no flower, so no corn is going to come out of it, right? So hailstone, hail, ice. Yes, ice, stone. Stone like ice, that's called hailstone. Now the wind suddenly became very cold and that changed the water droplets into hailstones, which we call in local language as kara. Yes, so hailstones began to fall from the sky. These truly did resemble like silver coins. What in excitement Lencho was saying that these are not big raindrops, they are new coins. The big coins are like 10 cents and the smaller than the smaller drops of rain, they are like 5 cents. Now this has turned into reality. The ice looks like silver and the same rain which turned into hail is now that hailstone is certainly looking like a shiny coin, new coin, right? But if it was rain, it was certainly money. But hail is not money, because hail is going to destroy the crop. The hailstone looks like coin, but it will get no economical benefit for the farmer. It is not a benefit. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. For the boys, it's a new thing. Yes, for the boys, it is just fun, it is excitement, it is something new. They perhaps might not have ever seen hailstones falling from the sky, big round shaped ice stones falling from the sky. They might have never seen it. So they are excited because they are childish. Even the elder boys, they also were running because they are not that much matured like their father. Their father is looking at it and now his tension is growing because he knows that this hailstone, if it continues for a long time, 5-10 minutes, okay, then the hailstone stops. Again, he gets a little bit rain. That's not going to do that much destruction. Of course, it will do destruction, but not that much destruction. He might still be able to save his crop. His intention. But the children, whether they are elder or whether they are younger, they are not that much matured enough to understand that this hail is going to destroy their crop. For them, that shiny, icy stone balls are of more excitement, and they start and run to collect it. We know in those days there was no refrigerator, so there's no question of they seeing any ice balls, right? So for them it might be a lot of excitement, but we know without refrigerator you can't keep ice. So as soon as the hailstorm will be over, the ice is going to melt. But till then, it's lots of excitement for the young children. So they ran out to collect. Now see at the beauty of the words that the author is using. He has compared them with frozen pearls. Because they are round in shape, they are shiny, they are silver in color, and pearls, they are always that shiny and silvery in color. So you see the comparison done by Lancho. They are like new coins because it ascertains that the crop is going to be good, healthy, and he is going to get lots of good harvest from it, and he is going to sell it in the market and get money. So for Lancho, in the earlier time when the rain just started, the same drops looked like money. Now it is the turn of the author, yes, to collect those frozen. For the children, they are frozen pearls. For father, it is total destruction. But for the children, they are that precious frozen pearls. Pearls which are frozen. Ice in form of small balls, frozen and looks like pearls. It's really getting bad now, exclaimed the man. Now the man is in tension and he is speaking out loud. No, this is not good. Yes, it's getting really bad now, because if this hailstorm continues a little bit longer, it's going to destroy the complete field and the crop. I hope it passes quickly. We just discussed 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever that cold wind has done once while passing near the cloud, and whatever droplets that were available, they froze and just fell down. The cold wind has passed. Now the warm wind is coming. It will not allow the water droplets to turn into ice. So maybe for 2-5 minutes some hail rained from the sky, but might stop. Usually hail stops. It doesn't keep on just raining like anything. Yes, 4-5 इंच या 4-5 फुट इतना नहीं गिरता हेल थोड़ा सा गिरता है, जस्ट थोड़ा सा लैंड कवर करता है, वाइट दिखता है, अदरवाइज हेल डजंट लास्ट फॉर लॉन्ग. So he says, because he is an experienced person, he knows hailstorms, they don't last that much. Yes, so it won't do that much destruction. It's really getting bad now. If this continues like this, all the flowers will be dropped from the plant by the hail, and we will be having less corn this year. I hope it passes quickly. He has faith in God and he hopes that the storm passes very quickly. It did not pass quickly. God willed otherwise. Don't know what happened, but the hailstorm kept on coming. Hailstones kept on falling from the sky. Those frozen icy pearls dropping from the sky. It continued and continued and continued falling. How much? For an hour. Complete 1 hour. The hailstone kept on falling. This is not destruction, this is disaster. For an hour the hail rained on the house, the garden, because when the rain falls, it falls everywhere. Yes, on everything. Same way, when the hail falls, it falls on everything, whether it's a house, whether it's a flat, whether it's a lake, whether it's a river, field, ocean, forest, wherever it's falling, it will fall constantly and equally everywhere. So it was falling on the house, in the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole, the complete valley. The hailstones were falling, and that continued for 1 complete hour. The field, after the hailstone was over, the field was now completely covered. The field was white, because all that hailstone fall, collectively it will have white color, because when water turns into ice, it has silver color, but then when you put lots of ice together, slowly it forms white color, transparent. The white field was white. Now there is another comparison, as if covered with salt. Now you see, the author is very clever and he has beautifully used the words. What does he say? Now he says that whole of the field was covered with hailstones, white. So if you look at the field, it looks as if snow has fallen. Actually it is those hailstones, big hailstones that are fallen, and because they are still ice and they have cooled down the temperature, they are not melting right away. So you can see all the whiteness in the field. The field is covered completely white, otherwise it will be brown, black, plus that green crop coming out. Now everything is covered in white, because the plant is standing. Yes, the hailstone falls on it, it will break the plant, yes, or it will at least bend and break it, and it's total destruction. But what is this salt? Why is the author comparing that ice with salt? When we mix acid and base, we get salt. Yes, when you pour salt on the soil loses its fertility, nothing can grow on it, right? Because salt is not good for the health of the plants. So in this way, the destruction is explained by the author in one word, salt. That ice, you say, has destroyed the crop completely. The whiteness resembles salt, which is total destruction for the soil or the plant. If a plant is growing, we pour salt around its stem and give it water. That salt will turn into salt water and it will sit in the soil. The roots will absorb that salty water. Saline water is not good for vegetation, right? So it will make the plant die because of the salt. So that is the same thing that the author is comparing over here. He very beautifully compares that ice with salt, which has brought total destruction to the field. Now, even if the hail slowly melts, that icy cold water is going to enter the soil, and again that icy cold water for tender or very delicate roots is going to be harmful. Yes, because that same cold water is taken by the roots and given in the stem to the flowers and fruits and different parts of the plant is not good for the plant, right? So in this way, it is total destruction. Lots of comparison has been done in this paragraph. This paragraph is quite important. Not a leaf. Now what is the impact of the hailstorm? Not a leaf remained on the trees. You're talking about the crop. The crop has very tender leaves, very delicate leaves. So what happens to the trees? Even the trees have become bare. Yes, just 1 hour ago they were lavish green with the green leaves on them. Now the hail kept on falling for 1 hour. Each and every hailstone that fell on the leaf, dropped that leaf, cut off that leaf from the tree, and now only the branches and twigs you can see on the tree. Not a single green leaf is seen on the tree. The corn was totally destroyed. Nothing was standing. All the crop was bent, broken. Can't see any flowers. Without flowers you don't have any fruit. But here the plant is going to die because the stem has broken. Now it doesn't have enough strength to again come back to its position and continue to give a good harvest. So it's total destruction. The flowers were gone from the plants. The flowers were cut off by the hail. They were ripped apart by the hail, and now they are fallen on the ground. So students, with this we complete our today's lecture. Thank you.